Hey you, welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
I'm husband.
I'm wife.
And together we're reading the Bible.
Starting with Genesis and eventually ending with Revelations, we're working through every book and offering our atheist 2 cents.
Or shekels.
Yeah, those. We're asking questions and pointing out all the nonsense.
We aren't academics or scholars.
Nope. In fact, when it comes to religion, we really don't know anything at all.
What we've learned so far is that God's a dick.
Oh, he really is, isn't he? If you're interested in how we reached this startling conclusion, maybe start from episode 1.
Otherwise, jump in anywhere. It's all good.
Yep.
Hey wife, we just got a new sponsor. It's Anchor. They must think we're doing something right because they picked us back up.
That's amazing. Want to hear something even more amazing?
Yeah?
I actually know what they are.
You are full of shit. I'm calling your bluff. Tell me about Anchor.
Okay, so Anchor by Spotify is the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place.
I'm actually surprised you knew that, but did you also know that Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer?
Yes, because I see you do that on your phone all the time and it looks pretty simple.
It really is, and when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
But I use CastBox.
Yeah, darling, I know you like CastBox. It gets distributed there too, and lots of other platforms as well.
And how much are we paying for this awesome service?
Absolutely nothing.
Coolio! So then we should tell people to download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started?
Yep, do it now.
Husband.
Wife.
This is an intro. It is only an intro. Do not adjust your sets.
Yeah, you've been struggling with that recently.
I have, but not only is this an intro, it's an intro of an intro.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
Because what we are going to be talking about today is the next section of the Bible following the Pentateuch.
Got it.
The first 5
And that would be
books.
Joshua, correct?
It starts with Joshua. Yes, that is the next book.
Right.
But there is a natural break. There's another section following those first 5 books.
Okay.
And I will get into that here shortly.
All right.
Okay, so today what we are going to discuss is something that is difficult to pronounce.
Okay.
Or spell.
Yeah, I already gathered that.
Yeah, it's called Deuteronomistic History.
That sounds like a mouthful.
It is quite the mouthful. And what it entails is the continuation of the story from Deuteronomy.
Okay.
Which is why, we're about to start Joshua.
Yeah.
And Joshua picks up where Moses left off.
Right.
But we said in the last episode, I think, that some people propose including the book of Joshua in the Pentateuch and call it a Septateuch.
Right. Yeah.
But instead of including that back, they include it in the next section going forward.
Okay.
And so the Deuteronomic Doom buggy. Okay. Deuteronomistic history.
Yeah.
Includes the book of Joshua, the book of Judges, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 King, and 2 King. And you'll notice that I left Ruth out.
Yeah, no, that's...
Ruth is its own little thing that's stuck in there. And I will probably do a separate episode to find out why.
Right, yeah, that's really weird.
But it's not mentioned as part of the Deuteronomistic history.
Huh.
Now, let's keep in mind that all of these books were written and rewritten and redacted and put together. So to even say who wrote what when is very, very...
No, I mean, there's so many different versions and
so
there's no way.
So somebody stuck Ruth in there.
Sure.
And like I said, I'll do some research into that, and that'll be a later kind of thing.
Right.
When we get to Ruth.
Definitely.
Which, follows Judges, which follows Joshua.
Right.
So we will get there.
Okay.
But I just thought it was cool that, this whole time we've been trying to get through the first 5 books and then celebrate that.
Right.
And then we've got the whole rest of the Old Testament, which is like 1 billion books.
Right. Yeah, no, like when I have to say, like when I went to go find out, because we started this without really planning anything ahead of time, and like we had no idea what we were jumping into.
Right.
And at one point, like maybe I don't know, it's probably been less than a year ago, I looked up how many chapters were in the Bible, and it was like 1,000
books.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh no, how many chapters?
No, it was how many chapters?
You're
it was
right.
1,089. And I was like, oh shit, this is going to take us forever.
Yeah.
So that's when we kind of changed, like we started changing formats, or talking about changing formats at that point.
Yeah.
And anyway, yeah.
And there was also a point.
There
There was also a point at which you thought that the Pentateuch was the Old Testament.
Well, I literally don't have any religious upbringing.
I know,
like,
same.
I've been to church a total of maybe 20 times in my life.
Right.
Like, that's being generous, probably.
Probably.
So.
No, I hear you. I'm saying that. I'm not saying that to make fun of you.
Right.
I'm saying that when you come to this book with zero knowledge, you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
And when you've only heard this word and that word thrown about, you don't know how to apply it.
Right.
So, yeah, we're coming at this, and I wanted to find another natural break after the first 5. And so reading it as the Deuteronomistic History allows us to do that.
Okay.
So I'm very excited that
there's a break.
That there's a natural break. And I'm hoping that we find more groupings like that as we go.
Sure.
That's what I'm going to be looking for going forward, so that we can celebrate milestones along the way.
Right.
So, who wrote Joshua is kind of the question, right?
Sure.
So almost all scholars agree that the Book of Joshua holds little historical value, meaning that shit probably didn't happen. And if it did, it didn't happen when you say it happened.
Right.
For early Israel, and it most likely reflects a much later period.
Huh.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So when we're like, when did it, to talk about who wrote it, you have to talk about when was it written.
Right.
So, they're like, not anybody you know.
Right.
There's now general agreement that it was composed as part of a larger work, the Deuteronomistic History.
Okay.
So that's why all of these separate books are included in this.
Okay. All right.
And it stretches from the Book of Deuteronomy to the Book of Kings, which is what I said.
Right.
To the books of Kings. Sorry, books.
Okay.
Because there's 2 kings, first king and second king. Unlike Trump, who said King 1 and King 2.
Now, I have a quick question. Does this have anything to do with the different types of writers that wrote the Bible? Like there's the genres of writers that whatever.
Yes, like the Deuteronomist.
Yeah. That
we refer to as the one who wrote. Sure. And that is not, when we say one, we mean a group of people, a group of priests.
But a style that stands out in the Bible, basically.
Yes. So this is basically a continuation of Deuteronomy.
Okay.
So that's why it's referred to as the Deuteronomistic History, because it's still these same kind of priests.
Oh, that makes sense. Makes sense. I'm assuming maybe Ruth doesn't meet that threshold or something.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why it was stuck there. I would think that it would be stuck after.
Well, maybe it was stuck because maybe it has something to do with the story, but it's not written by the same people.
Right, exactly.
So who knows?
That is very likely what it is.
Or maybe, it just got stuck there.
There's no way of knowing. There's no way of knowing until
that could be just as likely,
There's no way of knowing until we get there, and even then we might not know.
Right.
So, because I know that there is a novel called The Book of Ruth, and it was like an Oprah book club kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was, I think it was a tongue-in-cheek title. I don't think it was like based on the Book of Ruth from the Bible. I said roof.
You did.
I am so having problems speaking. Blah, 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 blah. So, I don't even know what the Book of Ruth is about.
I don't either.
We'll get there in a bit.
Right. Yeah.
So, lots of scholars now believe that it was composed first at the court of King Josiah, which is one of the books that we will eventually get to.
Okay.
In the late 7th century BCE.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then it was extensively revised in the 6th century BCE.
Huh. And just to be clear, I think Moses' happenings were happening like 2000 BCE or something like that, like 1500 to 2000 BCE.
I honestly don't remember.
I could be wrong. Like that's a very big generalization, but I know. Well, if they're talking about the Bronze Age, then they're talking about even further back than that. So,
right.
Which there is a lot of Bronze Age stuff happening. So I don't know. It's obviously there's no dates written down for this shit. So
right. So that's the question. You know, when was all this shit written?
Right.
And what parts of it were written together, and
even what are they referring to? Like what time periods are they referring to?
Exactly.
Regardless of when it was written.
Yeah, exactly. So the term Deuteronomistic history was coined in 1943.
Not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
In the grand scheme of things.
Right, by a German biblical scholar to explain the origin and purpose of Joshua, Judges, Samuel, and Kings.
Okay.
So, I thought that was interesting that, you know, we're using this break, and it was only, you know, in the last century.
Right.
You know, a thing that came to be.
Yeah.
He argued that these books were the work of a single 6th century BCE author / compiler seeking to explain recent events, the fall of Jerusalem and the Babylonian exile.
I see.
Using the theology and language of the Book of Deuteronomy.
Huh. Okay.
So, I don't know much about that time period. I don't know about the fall of Jerusalem. So is he saying,
like, that Deuteronomy was written by somebody different, but this one took that and then expanded on it?
That's what it sounds like to me. I'm honestly not sure.
Okay.
I don't know enough about this stuff. Like, I'm not a scholar or an academic.
Yeah. No, I didn't know if you had come across that or not.
No, so. I didn't, and there was so much, and this actually is something I meant to say at the beginning. I wanted to talk about this section of the Bible without getting too far ahead of our reading, because I don't want to say like spoiler alert or anything like that, because how spoilery can a several thousand-year-old book be?
Sure, but I mean, we don't know a lot of this stuff. So.
I don't know what's going to happen in the Book of Joshua,
right?
And so I don't really want to talk about too much stuff that
is going to
happen that we're not at yet,
right?
Because it'll be out of context.
Sure.
And so I was really hindered in my research of finding out what is the next section, who wrote it, and when, versus, but you know, don't tell me too much.
Well, I mean, I think that's, you know, we're trying to get a little bit of information to move forward and learn more about the Bible than we did before, because we really didn't know much of anything. I think that is what our goal has been. I mean, there's different people listening to us for different reasons.
Sure.
But, you know, I'm happy to learn a little bit and move along, and then maybe revisit what we touch on later down the road. You know, we might do special episodes going back and researching some of this stuff after we're done, because there's so much interesting crap. You know, like,
I mean, I didn't really fully appreciate everything that had happened in the first 5 books of the Bible until I did that recap of the first 5 books of the Bible.
Right.
And I didn't even realize until I think it was the 4th book that the people had reached Canaan twice.
Right.
You know, like that. It's not that it wasn't stated. It's just that this is so outside of my normal reading that it didn't sink in.
Right.
So,
and I should qualify when I say interesting, I mean, this is a relevant book still today to people that are around us, and it is much of our history. Like this is huge for all of history that I am a part of right now.
The book is huge, not the things in it. The fact that so many people flock to this thing. Right.
But that's what makes the intricacies, I think, a little bit more interesting, because it's neat to find out where they come from, what inspired this crap, you know? Like,
what inspired this crap? That's like our whole podcast in a nutshell. What inspired this crap? I mean, right?
I mean, basically, yeah, like it is basically crap, so... So
to move on, the author used his sources with a heavy hand. depicting Joshua as a grand, divinely guided conquest.
Okay.
Judges as a cycle of rebellion and salvation. And the story of the kings as recurring disaster due to disobedience of God.
Oh, man. No way. They disobey God again?
But we did know that was coming. So that's not a spoiler. Because, God specifically gave that spoiler alert himself.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to look forward to, though. Joshua apparently is going to be epic. And then when we get into Judges, there's going to be lots of fun stuff where they're bad. They're so bad. I'm kind of looking forward to that, honestly.
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
It's now widely believed that the history was in fact first written in the late 7th century BCE as a contribution to King Josiah's program of reform, and only later revised and updated by a 6th century author.
Oh, so it was later revised and updated.
Yeah.
I see.
Yep. And I made this note, and I didn't look into it because I don't want to know where it falls yet.
Okay.
But there is a mountain that we're going to come across called Gibeath Haraloth, which translates to Hill of Foreskins. And
of course.
Yeah.
Hill of Foreskin. Really?
There's a reason. I don't want to get into it yet because we're going to come across it, but I couldn't not take that note.
That's so absurd.
That is so absurd, yes.
I mean, I could say that about so many things that we've read so far, but that is definitely absurd.
Well, that is my final note on today's topic.
Okay, yeah.
And I thought it was a good place to end. A hill of foreskins. Where do you go from there?
No idea. Yeah. So yeah, that's our introduction to the Deuteronomistic History.
That's it.
Wow, I got it. Okay.
You got it.
And then tomorrow we're going to have a special episode.
We are.
Special episode.
So special.
So yeah, tune in for that tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And it's going to come with kind of a new announcement for things too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And we will see you guys then. You'll hear from us then.
Well,
I say see all the time.
I mean, I think it's fine. It's fine.
All
See ya.
Right, whatever.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, wife.
Yes, husband.
Did you know that we are now on Patreon?
Yes, because you told me, but also, no, tell me more.
So we're on Patreon now.
Are we?
We are, and our supporters can go there and support us, and we have multiple levels all the way up to You Killed God.
That sounds really drastic and escalated quickly-ish.
Well, no, there's multiple levels before there. So it escalates on a sliding scale of, cheap to not cheap. Oh. But, we can definitely use any amount. So, any support is always appreciated.
So what exactly is Patreon?
It's a place where you can show your support for our podcast. And
just our podcast?
Any podcast or any performer. But, we're the ones that, you're listening to right now. So maybe you should, support us. That'd be awesome.
That would be awesome. But we love you anyway.
So all you got to do is go to Patreon, look up Sacrilegious Discourse. It's actually patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse is our actual main page there. So head on over and send us some love.
Yeah. Husband, it's the end.
It is indeed, wife.
Tell the people where they can contact us.
Well, they can get a hold of us via our email, which is sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. We have Twitter at sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh, why do you know? Why do you keep doing that? Ugh. All right, we have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, and a Pinterest page. But if you really want to get our attention, Twitter's where it's at.
Twitter is where you're at.
Yeah.
And they should also review, like, and subscribe, yeah?
Definitely. Apple Podcasts reviews help us out tremendously. And we also can use your support on Patreon, which is a great place to support us as well. That would be at patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse.
Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Bye.